Do you know there are actually very few flags that contain the color purple, except this one. This was the flag of the Second Spanish Republic that existed from 1931 till 1939. And when you see that, you know what I'm thinking? Exactly, a short-lived state, and we have to cover it. This is Stefan from History Hustle. I'm in Madrid, and in this video you'll learn about the short-lived Second Spanish Republic and why they actually had purple in their flag. When you hear Second Spanish Republic, the first thing you can wonder is what happened to the first? Well, the first Spanish Republic lasted even shorter than the second one, only from 1873 to 1874. It emerged following the abdication of King Amadeo I, but the new government was immediately paralyzed by internal division between those favoring a centralized state and those wanting a federal system. This instability was exacerbated by three simultaneous conflicts: the Third Carlist War, a colonial uprising in Cuba, and the Cantonalist revolution at home. This led to a military coup and the restoration of the Bourbon monarchy. In 1874, Alfonso XII returned to the throne, and after his early death, his son Alfonso XIII inherited the crown in 1886. While he inherited the crown at birth, his mother, Maria Christina of Austria, served as Queen Regent until he turned 16 in 1902. A major blow to the monarchy had occurred 4 years prior in 1898, when Spain lost its last major colonies, Cuba, Puerto Rico, and the Philippines, in the Spanish-American War. Spain maintained neutrality during World War I, experiencing an initial economic boom by exporting arms and acting as a diplomatic mediator, notably through King Alfonso XIII's humanitarian efforts. However, the post-war era brought disaster. The economic bubble burst, labor strikes intensified, and the 1918 flu pandemic killed 200,000 citizens. Political stability further collapsed due to the rise of radical groups and the 1921 disaster of Annual in Morocco, where a humiliating military defeat against Riffian forces left thousands of Spanish soldiers dead. The military failure, combined with political assassinations and rumors of the king's incompetence, fueled an authoritarian shift and deep-seated republican resentment. General Miguel Primero de Rivera staged a coup on the 13th of September 1923 and ran a dictatorship that lasted till his resignation on the 28th of January 1930. After he resigned, King Alfonso XIII appointed General Damaso Berenguer to restore the old parliamentary monarchy. However, this move was rejected by a growing coalition of Republicans, Socialists, and former monarchists who had lost faith in the crown. The 1931 municipal election served as a de facto referendum. While monarchists held on in rural areas, the Republican coalition swept the major cities and provincial capitals. Interpreting these results as a clear rejection of his rule, the king abdicated, leading to the official proclamation of the Second Spanish Republic in April 1931. When you look at the flag of the Second Spanish Republic, we see a distinctive purple band. The 1931-1939 Spanish Republic stands as the only era since 1785 to break away from the traditional red and gold flag. This Republican tricolor featured three equal horizontal stripes, with purple replacing the bottom red section of the previous national ensign. While the specific shade is often debated, both purple and crimson possess deep Spanish roots, appearing frequently in royal banners and the heraldry of the Kingdom of Leon. By the 19th century, liberals adopted the color to signal their opposition to foreign monarchy and feudal privilege. Though purple appeared on unofficial banners during the Revolution of 1868 and the First Republic, it wasn't formally codified as the national flag until the Second Republic in 1931. This tricolor remained the official state symbol until it was abolished following Francisco Franco's victory in 1939. The birth of the Second Spanish Republic in 1931 ushered in an era of intense paranoia, where rival factions constantly suspected one another of plotting subversion. Religion became a primary fault line. Conservatives championed the Catholic Church as the guardian of national identity, while the left viewed it as a barrier to progress. By 1933, the rise of the right-wing CETA coalition, which successfully suppressed a northern uprising, alongside the emergence of fascist movements, deepened these divides. The 1934 revolution, sparked by CETA's entry into the cabinet, further radicalized both sides, setting the stage for total conflict. The situation reached a breaking point in 1936 as the left-leaning Republican coalition faced off against the nationalists. This local struggle quickly became an international proxy war, with the Soviet Union aiding the Republicans, while Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy bolstered the nationalists. Amidst this ideological theater, Francisco Franco emerged as a pivotal figure, a career soldier who valued rigid discipline over political discourse. Franco was viewed by some as a stabilizing force and by others as a budding autocrat. Following the narrow Republican election victory in 1936, the new government attempted to neutralize potential threats by reassigning right-wing generals to remote locations. Franco was sent to the Canary Islands, while the coup's architect, Emilio Mola, was stationed in Pamplona. Though initially hesitant to join Mola's conspiracy, Franco eventually committed to the uprising. He was moved to Spanish Morocco, where he successfully rallied the elite North African colonial troops and rightist officers to his cause. A big part of the duration of the existence of the Second Spanish Republic was overshadowed by the 1936-1939 Spanish Civil War. The Republicans remained loyal to the Second Republic's left-wing Popular Front, a diverse coalition of socialists, anarchists, communists, and separatists backed by the Soviet Union. In contrast, the nationalists consisted of phalangists, monarchists, and traditionalist conservatives, received critical support from Nazi Germany and Fascist Italy. Initially led by a military junta, the nationalist cause eventually consolidated under General Francisco Franco, who was named supreme leader in October 1936. Following the nationalist victory in 1939, Franco established a dictatorship that controlled Spain until his death in 1975. Now, this video doesn't focus on the Spanish Civil War. Here's an interesting quote I found in Anthony Beevor's The Battle for Spain. Many Spanish Republicans maintained a naive belief that Great Britain would act as the champion of the underdog in its 19th century tradition. Indeed, the belief that the democracies would eventually deliver them from dictatorship persisted until 1946, 7 years after the end of the Civil War. Certainly, in 1938, there was a conviction in Spain that even British conservatives would be forced to recognize the necessity of joining the fight against fascism, but they underestimated the deep prejudice of certain governing circles. By the spring of 1939, the Republican defense was collapsing and the long siege of Madrid neared its conclusion. Despite the desperate situation, Prime Minister Juan Negrín and his cabinet advocated for continued resistance. This stance was challenged by Republican Colonel Sigismundo Casado, who favored a negotiated peace. Casado initiated a coup within the Republic, arresting communist officials and forcing Negrín into exile. This triggered violent internal conflict in Madrid as communist and non-communist Republican factions fought one another. The communists were eventually defeated, and their commander, Luis Barceló, was executed following a military trial on March 15th. Casado attempted to open a dialogue with Francisco Franco, but the nationalist leader insisted on nothing less than unconditional surrender. On March 26th, nationalist forces advanced into the capital and the remaining Republican defenses were dissolved. The city officially surrendered 2 days later. In the aftermath, hundreds of thousands of Republicans were detained and relocated to concentration camps. You know, I actually covered a lot of other short-lived states. Click right here to see the full playlist. Thanks for watching and best wishes from Madrid, Spain.